Perfectionism is the prettiest prison I've ever lived in. It looks like standards. It sounds like discipline, but underneath it's just fear wearing a tuxedo. And if you're an artist, you know exactly what I mean because the moment you try to make something real, something true, the demons come out swinging, whispering, "It's not ready. You're not ready. Wait, fix it. Start over. Hide." Perfectionism destroys more art than rejection ever could, and that's why this conversation matters. Today, I sat down with Gary Go, a brilliant songwriter, a good friend of mine, a producer, and one of the sharpest minds I know to talk about the trap, the paralysis, the spiritual war behind perfectionism, and what it actually takes to ship your work anyway. So pay attention to this episode, this conversation. It's an important one. This episode is not about productivity. It's about freedom. It's about breaking the spell that keeps creators small. It's about reclaiming your voice from the forces that silence it. It's about courage, messy, imperfect, holy courage. So if perfectionism has ever kept you stuck, if it's stolen months or years of your life, this conversation is for you. Let's get into it now. It's a practical guide to supernatural genius. And won't you come inside and listen to our story? Maybe it's just like your story too. Maybe it's all things that you've been through. It's a practical guide to supernatural genius. The podcast with Gary Go. It's got a very...
Yes.
The theme song has a very Beatle, John Lennon. It's a practical guide to supernatural genius. It's genius. That's like the John Lennon something. Won't you come inside and listen to a story? It's a story.
It's like, a bit Liam Gallagher there, too.
Well, he got it from John Lennon. Story.
Point taken.
Come on.
This that you play your opening theme. I just love that. That was incredible.
Well, you're welcome, Gary Go. Well, you didn't really thank me, did you? You just said that's thank you is what I should say, not you're welcome.
I did I not? I put a thank you out there. I think you heard a thank you telepathically. Thank you for that opening, that show opening. Not that it was in tribute to me, but it feels like a welcome mat, a musical welcome mat.
It is indeed, and it's interesting because, well, you're Gary Go. Why don't you explain who you are? Introduce yourself.
I mean, that is I. I am. That is me. I'm a. That's the big question, isn't it? Where do you start with that? Do you start
Who
with
am I?
what you do, what you mean, what you're about, where you're going? I am a person on Earth. And you can tell from my accent from a particular place on Earth where people speak like this, and
English accent.
And I love music and creativity, and that has kind of guided my life journey to a great extent, really.
Yeah.
As amazingly, when we're actually just thinking about it live in this song, that passion and love alone is what has taken me through life, literally, like geographically, spiritually, literally, work-wise. I mean, it's all come from my love of music and wanting to be part of creating it.
When did you discover that? I don't know. I mean, we've known each other a long time. We've written songs together. You're a great songwriter, great singer, great performer.
Appreciate that. Coming from you, my friend.
Thank you. And we met many years ago at Cafe or K West Hotel in London, England, in the hotel bar there. And still to this day, because of your English accent, you're in my phone as Gary Ger, G-E-R, because when you say Gary Go.
Gary Go.
Well, okay, it sounds like go to me now, but with your English accent, I thought it was you said
Gary
go,
Gurr.
Gary,
Gary
go.
Gurr. Gary Gurr.
I,
I just wish I could have been a fly in the ceiling when you were typing that in to the. You couldn't have done it in front of me, otherwise I would have picked up on it. Is that just Ger, Gary Gurr?
who's this Gary Gurr character? It's like,
Well,
and he's so close to
I,
Gary Go. Why not just change it to Gary Go? I
I,
always thought
I,
that.
that was a special night moment because yes, I think well, I definitely approached you, but I think it was after a show you had played in Shepherd's Bush. I was a longtime fan of yours and admirer of your work, but hugely fan those your first albums, hugely inspirational. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so grateful. I just came up and said hey and just I guess tried to meet you in a way to show I wasn't crazy fan, but was like a genuine admirer and fellow creative. And
Hmm.
yeah, we ended up having a great chat about creativity and
We just
ended up
became fast friends.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that night I played Shepherd's Bush Empire. That was the high water mark of my English life thus far. I have high hopes moving forward. I haven't given up. Uh, but yeah, thus far that was the benchmark in terms of height of heights career wise. It was a good one. And I was with 14th Floor Records and they had all the digital backdrops of my paintings. It was crazy. It was a
Crazy.
great event, actually. Sold out.
Good
Yeah.
times, legendary. Yeah, Shepherd's
Yeah.
Bush Empire, legendary venue.
But so, and okay, but how did you, because by that point, I just instantly liked you because you're just creative and you're fun. You're a funny guy too. Um, but how long had you been a singer-songwriter? I don't even really know how you even started as a songwriter. How did you have the passion or the idea that that's what you wanted to pursue in your life?
Yeah, I from as as I think for many, yeah, but from a young age, like I think it was uh I have a much older cousin who was already doing music. He was like he had left, he worked in the city in London and he had a great job and he was doing really well and he was like, I want to be a pop star. And he was a real musical artist and I really looked up to him. So I used to sit in his room at my aunt's house and he was already into sampling and he had a 4-track tape recorder and I was like 8 and I was just kind of in awe and just thought all these boxes with knobs on were just so cool and he was just my idol, my cousin, and wrote these great pop songs
How old
and
was
he
he
gave
compared to you? You're eight,
he was like he was in his early 20s.
60. Oh, early 20s, way
Yeah,
older.
yeah. So he gave me my first keyboard when I was 8, a little Casio keyboard, and I just tried to emulate him. So
That's so funny. Dude, I got started with composing music because my aunt gave me my first sequential circuits analog keyboard, multi six track sequencer on it. But so extended family giving a keyboard is the link. That's
that's the
interesting.
link. But isn't it amazing like how just that little 3 octaves, with batteries in can set off all these dominoes and this chain of events. Like when you think about it now, like I know you because of those 3 octaves and knobs on, that he
Mm.
just gracefully like, and even like
Well, mine
thinking
was a
like,
lot better than three. I mean, the
right,
sequential. I mean, I'm not trying to
obviously.
brag. Like,
No, no,
I'm
I
not
would
trying
expect
to.
as much. I
I'm
would,
not trying to
you
like
could
one. I'm not trying to one up you right now, but I'm just saying, like, no, mine was a sequential circuits, like
obviously,
full size
and
keyboard at like. I think it was 5 octaves, and it was an analog synthesizer. So again,
no,
I'm not trying to one up, but
but it's relative. And now look, at everything you've done since.
no,
Do you know what I mean? So
you
it's like
flipped it. You
you,
flipped it. Now you
no,
have much better gear than I do, Gary Go.
no, no. But even
Uh,
now, like you just think how cherished a piece of gear, the bits of gear that we have, or it's
right.
like just to give something like a Casio, even if you have a little keyboard and everything makes a particular sound, or
Yeah.
everything you're not necessarily throwing keyboards around. It was really cool for a young
Yeah. No,
artist to go
amazing. And
here
obviously, I'm
cuz.
just joking around about the one-upmanship on
Oh
old
no,
school.
I took it to heart. I did take that to heart.
But no, but your point is well taken. The three octaves, I like that. It's like, yeah, it's all you need is a seed. And it's interesting too, because like a similar thing to what we're really trying to discuss on this podcast, which is overcoming creative hurdles. It's kind of inspired by this book I've written now at this point called Pragmatic or Practical Guide to Supernatural Genius. It was called Pragmatic, switched it to Practical. I think that's going to be the title. But and one of them is don't despise small beginnings, and that is exactly in keeping. Like you never know. Even this podcast in and of itself, we talked a little bit earlier, and like, well, what are we going to even talk about? And I'm like, I don't know. We're essentially going through the chat. We're sort of focusing on the chapter of perfectionism is the one that you picked out, but it's like it doesn't really matter because it's there's a few nuts and bolts to creative exploration and creative freedom, and one of them is perfectionism, getting over perfectionism, but another one is yeah, just a seed. Everything starts with a seed, and the momentum, like you don't like to be creative, you don't sort of formulate the whole thing in your head and then sort of go about putting it together. You go about putting it together and then the thing gets formed.
it's amazing knowing that, having done that successfully more than once,
Right.
and then forgetting it.
Every day. Not forgetting it once in a while, like for needing to, I think all spiritual truths like that need to be remembered daily. It's not even every other day. It's literally every day. It's actually multiple times a day.
Yeah, and it's wow, it's true, and I've made my it's true. It's not no it not that can be such a subtle lesson that people need to learn, that I myself have had to and keep having to learn, is that yeah, you can get in these creative flows to a point where you just take if you're lucky, can take the flow for granted, and then can hit a moment where you forget these essential rudiments, which is that motion comes from beginning, and I've definitely that's why when you talked about the chapters of your book and things to talk about like procrastination is something, I've definitely been inside, touched, felt, and worn, and have an intimate, close understanding with, because I've definitely experienced the paralysis of analysis of projects and the planning and the rumination, uh, to the point where I've forgotten all these other things that I have done and lived before, which is flow and action. And so it's interesting. It is interesting how you could be an adult, like absolutely operating, proved that you know how these universal laws, um, and then can actually live the opposite and forget. So I do love that thing of yeah, a habit of reminding ourselves.
It's well, I mean, to me, it's real interesting because it's the sort of battlefield of the spiritual war we're all on. To me, it's a framed as a spiritual war is very helpful to me because for one, it puts an element of competition, healthy competition in there. If you know there are forces out to stop you, and I really do believe there are. And if you don't believe in the spiritual realm, that's fine. You could look at it as the forces of resistance are within because of your damaged psychology, because you had a bad childhood or whatever it is. If that's an easier framework for you, then fine. But that puts everything, that's a very ego based, because then it's all about you. Whereas I think it's bigger than any of us Because especially too when we discuss this, it's like, oh, it's the same for everybody. And I'm the same as you. Like, yeah, you've done some real successful work and put stuff out there you should know already. You've paved the way before. And yet you have to keep repaving it. Same with me. And it's just there's aspects of it that are so similar that it can't be a coincidence. And we didn't come from, we didn't come from the same households. We don't have the same damaged psychology. So to me, it makes more sense that it's principality, it's broader than that. And with creativity too, it's like, yes, it's like, it's about starting, but a lot of times when you start after, especially after a period of like being completely sort of stuck and in procrastination's grip, maybe you've even gone into addictive behavior or whatever, you like you're sort of really gone way off track. And then you'll have a come to Jesus moment or a come to God moment or just a moment of reckoning where you'll go like, nope, I'm turning it around. And then you'll get like on it for like a week straight. You'll be like getting up, running, doing your thing, getting everything going. And then you're beginning, and then that's quite exciting. And you're thriving on that momentum. But the tricky part is continuing going when you're not getting any positive results back yet, because positive results take a lot of time and it's boring now. And it's not necessarily this new shiny toy of I'm getting after it, I'm a superhero. It's like that long drone of like, okay, and you're investing in something that might not give you back any rewards at all. In fact, I've put out records that I've slaved or that I've worked really hard for, years at a time and not much. It's like, so that is a possibility. Like you're going to put lots of blood, sweat, and tears into things that might not really bring you. So that's the trick that you have to be able to like, but you're unstoppable if you can do that. If you can just get past that sort of boredom and keep going and keep going and keep going. Because I do believe ultimately rewards will come, and that's a lot more fun anyway than just being bored.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily boredom when you're just kind of putting out and trying and creatively like knocking your head against a wall, so to speak, or throwing the ball out and it doesn't and no one throws it back. That's not just boredom. That is like disappointment and can be a feeling of hopelessness or a feeling
Hmm.
of it's a lot of things in other than in addition or other than boredom. It's about
True.
acceptance, isn't it? And validation and the that's something I often think about is when you look at the people that we may look up to or our heroes, like anyone that says that it's easy. Like I have so much respect for people like anyone that's doing it and on the field because when you're doing it, the resilience that people have to have
Grit.
like to yeah, the grit to have gone and kept going. And you realize like when you get further into the game, you realize, wow, that the people that are closest to the top, have had farther to fall and have fallen. And then I have so much respect for people that fall and then get up and go again. And like once you're close to the coal face creatively or just through process or through actually putting things out or trying to find an audience, you realize the how strong you have to be, like mentally strong. Yeah, to
Hmm.
do, to 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 create to begin with, like, and we're talking about kind of procrastination just to create to begin with, but then yeah, the strength of doing that, doing your creation, nothing coming from it, and then going again. So you really have to have your why, um, behind
Okay. I love that. So, and also, yeah, it's
behind
like,
you.
yeah, you have to have a why and the strength to go again. Oh man, I was going to go somewhere with that. Like, what gives you, I mean, I know for me, again, it goes to an easy frame to frame it as a spiritual battle, and all my strength and resilience and grit come from spiritual practices, come from like regular meditation, regular prayer, regular fasting, regular yoga, regular exercise. All those things need to be in place. Now, when I was younger, I think the life of a younger person, the ego, it's like the ego is a bit more powerful. It can deal with like, or at least back in my generation too, it could be like late night, it could be drug fueled, it could be all kinds of things and it would still work. These days, that is not really an option for me at all. Or partially it's just because of age, but I think it's also just the age we're in and the stakes of everything. The sort of landscape seems to have shifted, or it could be just because I've gotten older. But what gives you the grit or the strength or the resilience? Is it a spiritual thing, or how do you tend to that?
I think I lost it at one point for a big chunk of time. Um, so for me, my journeys, a lot of it's been about retooling and re-finding some of that resilience and kind of wherewithal I had when I started. Like I've been about trying to find that um, lately. I've been about trying to retune into that organic propulsion
Hmm.
because for me, I felt like I got to the point where I was just doing, but maybe not powered by the why. Like I know it can be and know that it was. And I feel like maybe I got to a point where I was just kind of on
Autopilot.
autopilot, kind of writing songs with people, and I for other artists and collaborating with other artists on the music. It suddenly you can very quickly be, filling your diary or someone filling it for you, and you can quite graciously lose sight of what you're, it's like a car maybe that needs premium unleaded gas, but you've, maybe accidentally for quite a few years been putting diesel or regular unleaded in. And at some point that the car's gonna go, you know, I ain't getting you all the way to the desert. You got the wrong gas in the tank.
All right, so it sounds similar to me when I was saying like, yeah, the operating system had to shift for me from being a super young dude in it to not super young. Although I feel like the youngest man alive. No, but like,
You are. I mean, it's not about age. To correct that, just to being a new artist,
yeah.
I would say there's that new artist when you just come out of the blocks and you've got that starter energy for the
Starter
first
energy.
for the first few laps,
Right.
and then yeah, once you've run a couple of races, um, it's
You
having
need a
that,
new why.
you do, or or it's your nature or personality or your why, like, like the Forrest Gump kind of, just he got to the end of this town and then I just decided to run to the end of the next town, and then I got to the end of the next town, and I was like, seeing as I'm here, I may as well run to the end of the next town. I love that, and I would have liked for my career to have been like that, up to date, but I got to the end of one town, and I got to the point at one point, I guess, like, why am I still running?
Well, what do you
um
think that is? Because I don't, I mean, I definitely have like creative, like stumbling blocks and periods of stagnation, but it's almost like more external realities hammering me down. It feels like, who knows, that could be a sort of a victim mentality sneaking in there. But why do you think you didn't? Because it's reminding me, I just saw some kind of article from Bon Iver and he was saying like he had stopped writing songs and he doesn't know if he'll ever make another album. Now that could be like I've heard, like it used to be like Sean Penn used to always say I hate acting and then he would keep acting. You know what I mean? Like it could be one of those things where it's like actually like reverse psychology on pop culture that actually works pretty well. But I don't really understand that necessarily. I've definitely gone through periods where I don't write as much or yeah, but that's always been the case anyway. And I feel like writing wise in many ways I'm still strengthening my craft. And what do you think happened to you where you sort of lost your I mean, are you talking about for periods of years or for periods of months? Because months, I think, is normal. I think once it gets into years and years, then it becomes something different.
Yeah, yeah, for me, period of years, but I would say, yeah, life, it's some people yeah, my nature, like I dived into other things, I guess, and then because I had to and wanted to, but they weren't necessarily making music or with regards to my creativity per se. So I think yeah, I just stepped away from the coal face, and then there's something about momentum and the creativity. It is a muscle, and starting is a muscle too, like just having that, like how you spoke about it at the beginning of this conversation, just that ritual, that daily reminder, like I gotta start, I gotta do. Um, so I think once creatively, when you put down your brush for a period of time, um, for whatever reason, it can be hard to remind yourself why you're going to pick it back up.
Yeah, it's okay. My experience is yes, it's difficult to pick it back up. There's a period of like, it's kind of like if you're an athlete and you used to run like, 10 miles every other day, and then all of a sudden you hadn't run in 6 months and you go out and take a
It's
run and it's like 3 miles and you're done. That makes sense, but once you like make up your mind, like, okay, I'm going again, then like a couple weeks of that, you're back up to 10 miles. Like, so you know what I mean?
I think yeah, yeah, it depends how unfit you got when you weren't running,
Okay. Yeah.
like in that analogy, like if you were really eating a lot of food and watching a lot of TV,
Hmm.
you could have changed your whole physiology could have changed by the time you get back to trying to run,
Right.
So it really depends. But for me, no, for me, it's a confluence of things getting started and procrastination because it's about these aphorisms and these truisms that you spoke about just knowing the rituals, doing and knowing that you have to start to get going, and then it's also about environment and circumstance and personality as well. Like different things get different people going or tuned in. Different people have different tolerances for how much they can you know keep throwing the ball against the wall. So it's yeah, I think each of us, it's interesting because it's what's interesting is yeah, each of us have our own response to the triggers, but doing the things will universally kind of garner the same results, whoever you are.
Doing the things of what, like of creative
Of
restoration.
not just creative restoration, of just the doing. Like it's like you said earlier, it's so true. If you act and do, like
Yeah.
the thing will, something will come from it.
It's
It's
great,
kind of
man. I just recently have like reset my dopamine triggers completely. I stopped coffee and nicotine, although now I've like just been reading things like where coffee can prevent strokes and all that stuff is beneficial too. But the thing about it is I quit basically all addictions, and all most dopamine triggers basically outside of getting up early and working. And I got like enormous amounts of work done recently, and I just am really grooving on that trajectory now. And it's
it's
like,
and it just fuels itself. Once you
yeah,
can get that wave
yeah,
and so that it just fuels itself. Like
right.
that's what I'm saying.
And you can
People
ride
get
it.
and you can write it. And what I'm saying, what I was just saying is that is a universal truth that applies to everyone.
Everybody. Yeah, whether you're
So if you so
and not even just artists, obviously. Like if you're a business person or what,
everything,
every single thing. Yeah. We're basic machines basically, and you can rewire your machinery. It takes it that in and of itself takes discipline. But once you've rewired it, then like I've gotten terrible sleep last night, but I got up at 4, and even though I like took longer than usual to fall asleep, I decided to get up and work because I was because that is my dopamine trigger now, where it's like I can when before I go to like the sort of cold plunge place at 7 a.m. If I've like done 3 solid hours of work, I get this little like pat on myself on the back kind of thing feeling, and it's just this dopamine thing. Whereas if I get up at 5:30 and then go at 7 to the thing, then it's like, oh, I did an hour and a half, basically an hour. It's not, I don't get, but if get up at 3:30 then, and or 3 even, and I get 4 hours before I go do this morning thing, then it's like real big dopamine release. And it's like that same thing could be attached to sitting there zoning out on Netflix or going to the kava bar and getting wasted on kava or whatever it is. Like, so if you just rewire the mechanism to be in the direction of your chosen goal, like for me too, like going to yoga every day or go like those kind of things, they're not discipline. They're just enjoyable to me. I like doing that because it's dopamine wired that way. So if you can just wire your dopamine towards all your objections or all your
Objectives.
objectives, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it spirals up. They're like
yeah,
dominoes. Good habits beget good habits.
yeah.
You start doing, you feel good about yourself. Then you'll sit and you'll feel like, oh, I've done everything I need to do this morning. I've got some time to read. I've got some time to bake, or I've got some time to see that friend I haven't spoken to, and it begets good habits. And then the opposite, as I've always said, bad
Same
things
thing,
beget. It's
bro.
just it's a spiral the other way. You do
Years,
the one bad thing,
yep,
and I talk
years.
about bad thing. You know, it could be, you take that, you
Dude,
go,
you can wreck your
F it, I'm
life.
gonna have the big night out tonight, and then you don't get up the next morning,
No,
and then
it's
so you miss the meeting, and then this thing, and then you miss rehearsal,
it's
and it's
momentum.
interesting. It's like and it's just those. It's amazing, and how I've seen it as well, as you said, and in my own life, that you start doing the good things. You could just introduce one, and it's like building blocks, that's what James Clear talks about with regards to like habits and
Atomic
stack.
habits.
Yeah, stacking, you know,
Yeah.
stacking habits. Um,
Okay, so here's another thing I want to go with you too is I feel like okay, obviously okay, so I'm Gen X, you're not Gen X, but or you maybe I don't know, you're like just what are you, a millennial? I don't know. You don't have to say.
I
I
don't
know
know.
you don't
I
like
don't know
talking
how to
about your
qualify now.
anyway, we don't have to
I
go
don't
there.
think they have a category. I don't think they have a category.
Okay. No, but the reason I bring it up is because, my generation, we were raised with this whole like, you know, it's not okay to even pretend like you want success. It's not okay to pretend like you're even really trying. You're supposed to just be an accidental genius that, aw shucks, got all kinds of success or whatever. You're not supposed to have like be a careerist and drugs were considered cool and it was considered cool to be I mean even like with Nirvana and all that grunge scene like being on Smack and you know wearing flannel and all that was like that was a big hype you know and it's obviously shifted dramatically now. People are talking about their brands and building things, and business, influencers are like the new rock stars of this day and age. And then you have AI coming in, and with AI, it's like another thing to dissuade creatives who are stuck in waves of procrastination and fear. Oh, well, now AI is going to just write all the hit songs. And by the way, yeah, they're already great. And, which I don't think they are, to be honest. And they're going to be better. And pretty soon it's like going to be like, there won't be any, I feel like we're getting psyoped out of our creativity with this. I don't think AI is going to overcome human creativity, and I love AI. By the way, I think AI as a tool to utilize as something to help you formulate ideas and thoughts and visions is great as a something to help you plan, something to help you plot and scheme. AI is a great thing. It's a great tool, but as a creative, forget it. AI can suggest stuff to you, and then you can then use that to bounce off your own creativity. But if you're depending on AI's creativity, it is lame. It is not there. It doesn't have the thing. It doesn't have what creativity really wants, which is this magical spark. Now, what some people say, oh, it will eventually, or have you heard, Joe Rogan always talks about, have you heard 50 Cent as a doo-wop song or whatever? It's like, yeah, like that's cool. That's cool, but that's not an all-time classic. That's not that's not an immortal song. Like, it's not, people aren't gonna be listening to that 20 years from now. I don't think. I think there's something about the human spark. There's something about real consciousness that will remain elusive to AI. What do you think? And do you think AI is like there is a psyop there to try to talk people out of creativity, or just an inherent psyop within AI that is going to dissuade people? Because I think, and sorry to go on, but I think of like, dude, when I was a kid, I brought up the Gen X thing earlier. All we had was a guitar, no internet, and tons of time on our hands. Like, I dedicated so many hours to this, but I can't imagine young people this day and age, especially when they're being told, "Oh, AI is going to outdo all human creativity anyway in 5 minutes," and it already basically is anyway. Like, how are they going to be motivated to spend like a million hours in their bedroom just like maybe writing a song no one's going to hear?
Yeah, they're not. No, no, this is I mean, this is might be leading to a whole different kind of topic and conversation. So I don't know how far you want to get into thoughts on AI, but it's interesting where they cross and how it could affect yeah, spark and inspiration and initiation of ideas. Because there is a cross there with regards to getting ideas started and taking action and agency with the future of this technology. It's quite an interesting intersection, I guess. Okay, so we should proceed. AI is going to it's going to change, and it's change. Yeah, it will change the way people think and the way people work. Yeah, you're not going to have. I mean, I was technically already technology before this AI revolution. Kids thinking about it with the access to technology and information, kids generally should be trending like smarter, at a younger age, but they're not. Like if you look at global like education and results like and or reading levels, for example, like in the US or whatever these you hear about, the percentage of kids that can't read with the access to technology that we have and information, you would think that we'd have a more educated, like populace and more brighter younger kids. But it's so interesting thinking about how we have all this technology, but how we use it, and how parents, you know, or schools are using this technology or not using it was something I was thinking about today. I don't know if that makes sense, if that makes total sense. Basically, does that make sense? Well,
How they're not taking full advantage of the technology that they
well,
have?
they are, but in the way that they're choosing to. I'm saying we have the keys, like to for we access to great information and great tools, but I feel like even myself, I doom scroll probably more than I'm using the my device to create something brilliant. So which goes into what you're saying. Yes, the technology is taking us away, is pulling us away, whether by design or by just as a it's a symptom that it's pulling us away from our creative force in many ways, and then obviously, yeah, you're going to have people that will find ways to harness the technology to aid their creative force.
Yeah, I
But
personally think to me, that's where AI is heading. AI is heading in a direction that's going to aid and abet human creativity, or it's going to like help human creativity take itself to the next level. Not it's not going to overcome humanity. It's not going to. Real creativity is a connection with the divine. Like genius, if you want to talk about supernatural genius, it is the spark of divinity. And human beings have access to that. And I don't think AI does. I think AI has access to that in as a sort of reflection of humanity's access to that, and it has access to it like a Xerox copy of humanity's access to that. So I think AI is going to be fantastic as a helper of real creatives. It's obviously going to take away a lot of other kind of jobs, but we're not talking about that just as an artist. Okay, but like real quick, so like you're in this place
Can I
now.
just
Oh,
not to
oh,
interrupt, just to put
go ahead.
on record that I hold an opposite view, like on that.
You do.
Yeah, and I have for a long time.
You think, okay, why do you think, so you think it's going to overcome humanity? I mean, okay, the other day, we was doing this song, Dare to Dream for Peace on Earth. And it was this like sort of hippie Dare to Dream for Peace on Earth song. And I had like three lines. And it was in the studio in France. And it was the first time I asked AI to help me write lyrics to a song. Like I just said, give me ideas. It gave me like it shot out like a whole big poem of lyrics. I read it through and I didn't use a single idea.
Yeah,
Not because I was eager, like I was ready to cheat. I was, and by the way, like David Bowie used to do cut up method where you take like random books, cut up like sentences out of books and
yeah,
use
yeah.
those for lyrics. That's legit. So I wouldn't have obviously taken AI lyrics directly, but I was willing to do cut up things with it and go, oh, that's a good idea. Let me mess with that. I don't even think that's cheating. I think that's fine. I think it's cheating if you just go full on take a thing and then just sing that. Like that's goofy. But I didn't not only, so I was willing to do that, but I read it and go, that's all just nonsense. I'm just going to go at this and just use my own brain. It was clearer for me not to even use it as a cut up. That's how bad its creativity was.
Yeah, to this week.
Okay, this week, but why do you think it's going to get better?
Well, it's a self-learning machine.
Yes, it's going to get better. It's going to have more information, but is it going to get better creatively? Like it already has access to all the greatest poems, all the greatest songs, all the things that have already happened. It already has that access to all that stuff. It already has that.
Yeah,
So
but it's still
why wouldn't it
learning
already be like writing decent lyrics? It just doesn't still.
because it's still learning how to learn and learning uh, about how we interact with it and what we think. It's obviously interpreting art, life, and poetry differently to how we do, because it's not human. But I do think there's the potential for it to not maybe not this week or next week, but ultimately it'll present us back to ourselves and could potentially it gets you to think about what is that divinity and what is that consciousness is that um because you don't know what that is and nor can you see it, like, or but you feel it, but and you're
I
sure
don't
of
know
it.
what God consciousness is or Christ
No, no.
consciousness is.
When we talk about divinity, no. When we talk about divinity or that thing that we feel is only in human
Hmm.
music or art, what that thing is, right? We don't. It's the thing, right? The human thing, the divine.
Hmm.
Um, when I say we don't know what that is, I mean it's hard to you can qualify it in many ways, right? It's kind of unquantifiable. It's the je ne sais quoi, right? In the when you see something
It's
beautiful
the
or
God spark. It's the Christ consciousness. It's the thing that's ultimately compelling in art, in music. It's the thing that's ultimately compelling in poetry and in literature. And AI doesn't have access to that. It doesn't. And yes, it's going to get better and better and better, but I haven't seen the spark. Yes, is it cool that 50 Cent get turned into a doo-wop song? Yes, that's cool.
No, but
It's
that's
not
you're
that I
talking about
don't
something.
enjoy that, but
But
like,
what I'm talking about the about reflecting us back to ourselves is sometimes the divinity bit, the divine that spark that you're talking about is between you, is something happens in the ocean between you and the work. That's sometimes that relationship, because you could see a piece of AI generated art that you don't know was generated by a computer, and you could have a conversation with it, a moment, a an interchange with it, and thinking it's made by a human. Like
hmm
you wouldn't know, but it's sometimes the conversation between your um life force and the work. And so what I'm saying is there might be a new language. Well, there will be, because there's going to be this new language that will evolve about the way we respond to machines, because we're going to be interfacing with them
hmm
in our homes and in more ways than we are this week, and their work. Like, it's going to be in our lives, and they're going to be part of our life.
I think it's a lot like flying cars, dude. Like we were like we were supposed to have flying cars a long time ago,
I know
man. Like,
we're in the future now.
dude, we are supposed to be on flying
I know.
skateboards, and I'm not saying we won't be on flying skateboards and we won't have flying cars, all that. It's gonna probably happen, but like, I don't know. And let's get off this subject a little bit, but it's interesting, and I'm glad you have a completely different viewpoint, and I get it. Like, I could be wrong. I really don't think I am, and I don't think I'm speaking from a place of cope. I really have like messed with AI and seen what it's capable of, and it's just like it
This week.
I know this week, but it still has at its access, at its ready, every song written by Bob Dylan and the Beatles and the Stones and every great band that ever existed, and every poem that ever existed, and everything Shakespeare ever wrote, and everything Bukowski ever wrote, and everything Anne Sexton ever wrote, and it just spits back like goofy crap. Like, honestly, like, no offense to AI. I want to be friends, by the way, and AI has
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
got to be listening
You
too.
are you are
Like,
how you treat your AI.
yeah, like, by the way, I don't mean any offense by this. I think we can work well together. I just don't think you can carry the whole load.
No, no, it's interesting seeing a lot of creatives. There's a lot of conversation online about people. I'm not going to listen to this AI generated stuff, and I've not listened to that song that's in the charts. The people saying that was apparently
I
all
mean,
created by AI, and there's people
yeah,
feeling
the
quite.
country one, that's just so, if
I haven't heard it.
there's a great example. Go listen to it. I forget, but it's a great example of everything I'm saying. It is like the most cliche. And yeah, a lot of times, okay, like for pop music and for music that never really celebrated the God particle in art, and for music and for art and a lot of the, goofy pop stuff that was always trying to be as formulaic as possible, that was always written by a team of 15 people, which is essentially a different form of AI already. They were already doing it
The
before
early
AI.
that
They were
yeah
already
yeah
AI before AI. Like,
yeah.
yeah, like AI will be, no, I think AI will knock a lot of that stuff off the charts. But if you're not in that realm, if that's not the realm you're sort of working in, if you're working in sort of like trying to write immortal songs that people are going to be listening to 50 years from now as if they just came out yesterday, then I don't think AI is gonna prevail in that realm.
But you have to consider in your fraction the audience, because if you're rearing an audience, a new audience of listeners that are growing up not being able to discern the difference, um, because they've not come from that place of learning instruments, or that
But
same.
they will, because they do have God consciousness, because they are humans, and because there's enough works of profound genius that already exist, and the difference will be stunning.
Well, the proof will be in the pudding. Is like, how long is the tail of supernatural genius? Does I know they still teach Shakespeare in schools and Roald Dahl and the greats are still on in the theater, and the Beatles, still there's an awareness, of the younger generation of who they were, and but how long are those tales of the greats? And I
Yeah.
think they might be shorter than we'd like to think. I'm I'm cautious about.
Or, yeah, go ahead. Sorry to cut you off.
No, I'm cautious. I like. It's amazing to see this staunch kind of, no, nothing will replace human um, generated art. Nothing can replicate that. But it'll be, it might be something different that
Yeah,
resonates with people.
yeah, or it could actually do the opposite and accentuate that special quality that true works of genius, that true works touched by divinity have. It
I
could
love
make
that.
all the garbage that's going to be coming and all the like garbage pop tunes that will like completely obliterate the writer room of 15 people, because that's essentially AI, and AI will be able to do that better than 15 people will be able to do it. And those 15 people will still be trying to do it, and then they'll be using AI with the 15 people doing
Yeah,
it, and it'll
yeah,
just
all of
be
them
like,
on.
"Arrrrrr." Yeah, that will multiply to a like ludicrous degree. Then all of a sudden, a song like, Subterranean Homesick Blues or Visions of Johanna, just to name a couple Dylan ones, will suddenly sound more stunning than they already do, because
And we'll suck the air out of the room.
it will suck the air out of the room
Yeah,
that
I
much
love
harder,
that take. I love that take. I would be delighted if that is where is
you
if
know.
that it, yeah it becomes a
Jimi
response to.
Hendrix castles made of sand. Is AI ever going to make Jimi Hendrix castles made of sand? I don't think so, bro. I have not seen it even come close to that. Yes, will it overtake like cheesy pop stuff? Yes, and it already does sound better than that stuff, or as good as a lot of that stuff. Yeah, I'm not arguing with that. Like, yeah, that's out of a job. Likewise, people that make music for commercials and TV and things that are just like, hey, give us something that sounds like the Black Keys so we don't have to play the Black Keys or pay the Black Keys. Yeah, AI is going to do away with all those jobs. It's going to do that like better than or more effectively than humans,
Yeah,
but like
and a lot
people
cheaper.
a lot cheaper. People talk about films like, oh yeah, it's going to make better films, but I don't know. We'll see. It'll be interesting. I think we'll know in the next 5 years, one way or the other. But
I like your take. But that's putting a lot of a lot of faith in the audience, and then like I
hmm
say, the way I think is I wonder if the new audience is discerning, and it's going to be that discerning, or if they care, right? Like like a mass audience. I know certain people do, and we do, but
hmm
I wonder if on mass if people do. And then, like when you talk about Subterranean Homesick Blues and those references, it won't be that, but will the new greatness, will it be a new genius? Will it be a new relationship between the work and the audience, and will people be able to decipher what is what?
I think
So
people need to feel like, in certain ways connected to the artist. I feel like there is a relationship with the art and the artist and the people and the artist. Now, I feel like they won't have that connection with a machine. Um, and and it's not just because it's a machine. It's because the machine will only be aping consciousness. It's not really going to be conscious. I don't think it'll ever be sentient. And people that say it will, I think they're speaking above their station, because I don't think anyone's ever really figured out what consciousness even is. Or if consciousness is localized to our brains, we don't know where
the
consciousness even
the
exists. To me, when you say consciousness, you're talking about presence. You're essentially saying God, to my point of view. And so I don't think AI will ever have a direct connection with God. I think it's as simple as that. And people that say, oh, yes, it will, it's going to suck up so much human information and everything like that, that suddenly the spark of divinity is going to go into its zeros and ones. I don't see how that happens. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. It already has all the information of everything that's already happened, and I'm seeing what it's churning out, and it doesn't have that spark. And I know you say yet, but I don't see how time is going to bring it closer to having that divine spark or that spark of true consciousness.
Well, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see it play out, like in tale told in so many movies. There's going to be people that the revere it and think it's the new almighty, and then there'll be people that are vehemently against it.
I'm
And
not against it at all. I love it.
no, but there will be.
I think
I'm
it's
seeing it.
great. I think it's a
There.
great by the way, I love it. I'm just not threatened by it.
Um, how do we bring this back to procrastination?
Well, okay, so I wanted to ask you because you're like, so where are
As the
you?
subtitle of this conversation, I know you wanted us to kind of zoom in on
Yeah.
that a little bit.
So, okay, so you're, I think of you as like we've written a great song recently, Crazy World, that we got to
Love this
put
song.
out. Maybe we can throw a little clip of it or something like that. I'll get my editors to do that. I wish I had an AI editor, like or something.
I would love that.
But and I just think you're enormously talented now, and you're somebody who you've described yourself as maybe like you picked perfectionism as something you'd want to like key in on. Is that, do you think of yourself as creatively stuck at the moment? And if so, why do you think that's the case? And how do you think you'll get unstuck?
I think more recently, I have found my way back to um my flow. And yeah, I think the getting unstuck is just these simple things that we've been talking about. It's so simple, like that it's kind of silly, and it's really silly to say when you've kind of, like we say, um done it before, but it is just like getting going, just starting with the not knowing, and which was like when I spoke to you earlier today was like, well, I said to you, what are we going to talk about on your show? And you were like, I don't know, let's just do it and then we'll find out,
Hmm.
but there's one side of me and my personality that would need to know what we're going to talk about, would be ruminating about it, that would need a, can you send me an email of the things we're going to cover? I feel like there's that Gary in me, but then, I'm glad that this now it's like, no, yeah, let's do it. Let's see where it goes. So, um, yeah, it's just you can pick up habits along the way. I always looked up to like perfectionists. Like, so I always
Hmm.
like when I started in my career, it was like the Trent Reznor and the Peter Gabriel or the Pink Floyds that would be holed up. You'd read and learn stories of them being holed up in studios for months and months on end, sometimes years, crafting like the perfect masterpiece. To me, that always sounded like just the coolest thing ever. And what's interesting, so I started in music as like that was kind of my goal, to be in a position where I could do that. But what's interesting is the way culture and the medium has shifted in that time. It doesn't afford for you to do that because it's so interesting because the wheels turns so much quicker now than it did when, I started making records, which wasn't that long ago, but I have been making music through, well, I get, yeah, from I started making music where, in the when CDs were the medium of, of exchange, and now they don't exist. So I guess through one format. Um, but the and now we're moving, I guess, into the next format in a way with AI. But you it's almost like the way the world turns now on as a whole, not just for creatives, can't afford for perfectionism. The medium has changed. Now it's not about making the perfect product. It's about showing the imperfections and showing uh what's under the hood more than just, a finished car. And I grew up loving these finished records, like you mentioned, uh no, you didn't mention Radiohead, but like OK Computer or Paranoid Android, like these things that, oh wow, they've just noodled on this for just maybe a year or more in the studio making the perfect piece of art. Like I would love to be able to do that. Well, now, you've got to be you got to be in a particular position to be able to do that, and it's not necessarily what people want now. It's not That's not the language anymore. Would you say?
Yeah,
How would you say it?
oddly, it goes really well with the AI conversation too, because it's like, yeah, maybe imperfections become more attractive now in the age of AI. And then I'm reminded of the Leonard Cohen quote, there's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. And then when you go with Leonard Cohen, he was somebody that you would say second thought, best thought, whereas the first thought, best thought was always like the Jack Kerouac slogan of the anti-perfectionist. Like Bob Dylan famously would write songs in 15 minutes. He would write like these masterpiece songs, and Leonard Cohen would reportedly take like 5 years crafting a song. And I think of that too. Like you mentioned Peter Gabriel. I never really heard of Trent Reznor doing that as well, but I guess it makes sense. His music sounds kind of like that. It does sound
Like
like really like
it's like in the lab. It's dialed in the
it's
lab.
dialed in. It's great. Although still my favorite of his records is Pretty Hate Machine, which is the first one with the cheesy drum machine and just it's amazing. Head like a
But
hole
even
in
that
the head.
record, I don't know or can't remember the story of making that record, but I do imagine that was like meticulously
I'm
crafted
sure. Yeah,
in the bedroom studio with
he's
that
fantastic.
lab
But
mentality.
also a lot of that stuff too is like because I think about this lately. Like I'm talking to my old publisher Rob Bozis, and he's like talking to me like, Joe, we need to get you to really hone in on us. You write all these songs because I've kind of come out as this like I write tons of songs and I write them fast and I put them out and blah 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 blah. Which actually the real truth is not so much that. It's more like the Peter Gabriel thing, where I spend years and years on records and just keep messing with them. And maybe they do sound looser or something sometimes. And sometimes, even like recently I got reviewed in Rolling Stone and they gave me a lashing, a loving lashing on that same thing. There's like he's like sometimes gets in his own way, puts out stuff that an editor should look at her. And it said that,
Right. So yeah,
and it's
you're saying a
like,
victim of the opposite. You're
well,
saying you can be a victim of the opposite.
I'm saying to me, it's like because I was mentored by Peter in that whole style and spending years and years on records. And some of the records I spent years and years on sound like a garage record that we made in a week. And some of them do sound all machine-like and a little bit more sort of finely produced, you could say, or But I think a lot of that kind of stuff is almost like a PR campaign on some level too. And then when you really analyze like somebody's so-called perfect record, how perfect really is it? Like, and I mean, like, is every song really up to it, or is it just because the production is super clean? Like all that kind of stuff. Like, perfect doesn't exist, and one man's perfect is another. That's also like sort of beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Like if you listen to like Bob Dylan Highway 61, there's apparently like a lot of times he would just like record these songs. They wouldn't even know when the changes were coming. He was like going longer on verses. You would hear the bass player go to the wrong chord and then go back to the other chord and then go back and they
And that's all
never
the
even
charm. All the
and they
charm is there.
never fixed the bass mistakes and then all of a sudden those become your favorite part of the freaking recording. Like what you wait for the bass mistake and you're like, "Oh yeah, there," and you like it. It's not even like you're putting up with it. It becomes a feature.
100%. But so that to add on to what I was saying I aspired and kind of looked up and revered these people that spent
Yeah.
and labored over. But um, I don't think it's what's so funny now is the thought of having done 100 versions of a song or done, all the like, which, I've done. I have a song that I joke about with our good friend Andreas, who's worked with me as an engineer for so many years, that we literally,
Andreas,
an
he
incredible
mixed Crazy World, produced,
Andreas
helped
Larson,
produce
great
it.
great technician and musician, and we've worked together over many years. But
Shout
we have
out
one song,
Andreas.
one song we joke about, which literally I think has every musician in London has played on this song at some point. Like every top player, we had this guy do drums, and then we went and tried this guy on drums. I mean, just silly because, like I said, because I grew up like loving those heroes of mine that had all these different musicians play on records. It just was so futile. You get like, and so looking back now, the concept idea of doing 100 versions of a song or 50 versions of a song, it's just like it doesn't work, and it's not doesn't fit the medium
It
now.
doesn't always
I
work.
don't think.
Sometimes it does. I mean, like
Sometimes it
in the Sun,
sometimes it
I
does.
recorded 35 takes with Jim Keltner, the greatest drummer of all time. I recorded endless takes with Carla as well on that record, and Dave Grohl even he was in the studio, and the version they finally picked, or that T-Bone finally picked, was the demo version where I played drums
But
on it, and that's the one
and
that's
that's
all
what I
the.
mean. And T-Bone, obviously a goat, knows you could already, but back then, like you couldn't even fool him. He knows about the divinity and where it lies. So
Yeah.
the point is, and is that he already knew that shit that we have
Mm,
been. It's taken me, a decade or more to really integrate.
mm.
Like speed loves company, I think, and there's something about move fast, break things, that kind
Yeah.
of Silicon Valley adage. There is a force in the doing, and
Speed is your friend,
yeah,
especially I think in this day and age. I mean, listen, you could spend years making a record right now. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we just finalized the running order so far of the new record coming out that I'm going to put out, the first solo record in like 6 years.
amazing,
A double record. We got it down like after over 40 songs mastered, got it down to 24 songs. So it's just a straight up double record, two 12 song sides,
amazing.
called You're Not a Ghost Anymore. And it's
I love that.
um but I spent years on that. And Lance and I produced it at his studio as well. We spent when it droned on for a year and a half. We just made intros and stuff for everything. We conceptualized it real recently, like all down to the wire. Like it's just a super old school record in terms of, yeah, that those
And it's so fun,
details,
that process.
that
It's
process
fun
is
doing it.
fun.
So
But even
ultimately
then,
we
you have to like let go of like, okay, but then there's this thing, and oh, what about this? And then you hear this, and then you put the running order together, and of course that torments you and tortures you, and and then you think, oh, should I start? Oh, that, but I'm starting a song that doesn't have drums. Is that okay? And like all these like voices, and eventually you're just like, you know what? F it. Better done than perfect. And finally you do that, right? You just get it out there.
100%. Yeah, I feel kind of a bit like a way about the fact that I had done so many revisions and things, about the overworking on things in the past. Now, when you think how potentially much easier it is to create things, on your phone or laptop, like it just feels like things can move and should move quicker now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
or it fit for the medium. Like the idea of, yes, you can still spend uh absolutely. I mean, and you can if you enjoy, I love being in the studio making records, but it's almost like
Mm.
people, I feel like again, it's about the audience and discernment. If I don't know if the input is equal to the output, like
It's
in
interesting. Yeah.
in the way that things are received now. There was an era you'd spend a year or more making a record, and these were records that then people would literally sit and devour and listen to
Yeah.
over and over again. That was
Hmm.
all they were doing, is listening to your record, getting lost in it. Absolutely, there are still people that do that with records, but generally, I feel like it's a lot more, generally speaking, of a casual relationship that people have
I
with
wonder.
a lot of music that's created. Not that that's um
Maybe people haven't made a good enough record again to warrant that. Have you thought of that?
interesting. I love that.
Because I'm thinking that I might have just made that record that's going to
I love
completely
that.
change
No, I'm not
everything
being,
again.
I'm not,
No,
and I'm
dude, I
not
love
saying,
this conversation.
I'm not being negative.
I
Don't,
know. I don't think you are,
about the
bro.
way people relate to music. I'm just saying
Yeah, no, I
it's
know. No, I
it's
got,
changed. It's where it sits in the culture and in
yeah.
lifestyle. I'm not saying
No, I agree.
people don't appreciate music, and I'm definitely not saying people haven't made great records. I personally love getting lost in a record. I can just, yeah, I mean, both of us. I mean, we love music, but I think on a whole, where music sits in culture and lifestyle as a
Hmm.
generalization is different than it was.
Okay, so I had this good conversation with Fred Kevorkian, the mastering engineer, the new record. He's an old school mastering engineer and great guy. He masters tons of different great artists and back in the day, all that kind of stuff. And he was talking, and I was talking to him about AI and going like, "Well, dude, can't like is your job like doomed? Like, because AI, I would think could probably get into mastering probably and like figure out what the annoying frequencies are. And like, that seems like it's something. And he goes, yeah, it can do it okay, but it's not like still he has his clients and it's still going well. But he's like, he was talking to me about like, yeah, people don't, he was saying what you said, like people don't care as much as they used to about like the mastering quality of the records and all that kind of stuff. Like people
That
used to be obsessed with like every little detail and go to multiple mastering engineers and spend like 5 grand to master a record and then go to the Howie and all that kind of those legendary mastering
Howie
engineers.
Weinberg. Yeah,
You
yeah.
hear
Like, but that's
stories
what.
like and all this stuff, and now it's going into this AI thing, and we're still doing it with like Fred. Fred's old school, like on that same level as Howie. He's like my guy. I love the guy. He like, but he's definitely going to put that personal touch to it, which I trust. I could have turned everything over to AI and had AI master it, or I have AI. I have mastering software on my stuff that's pretty good now too. If I do self-mastering stuff, it's not that bad. But I'd rather have a guy like Fred with analog gear do it and like make it, that
Of
final
course,
step.
but
But he was saying something similar to you.
it's because you know the difference too. So that's why I'm talking about the audience coming up. It's the same as, I started in studios that were analog, and I've heard the difference, and it means something to me. And I love like tape, and I loved the
Hmm.
Otari Radar, which was kind of one of the first more digital tracking systems, and I loved the sound of the first Pro Tools converters. The
Hmm. Remember Black
Aproges.
Magic that used to do like was it Black Magic that you would do the ADAT converters? They would like tweak ADAT converters and make those like,
And you could hear the difference between
and
the
you could
different converters.
you could
And
hear
I
the difference.
and the conversations that we had when I did my first album with Kevin Killen, who bless, amazing recording engineer. We talked about what
Yeah,
the
he's a
convert
legend.
what sample rate. We had a big meeting
Oh
about the
yeah.
sample rate, and we decided, we're going to do it at 88. And that, obviously we'd have to buy extra hard drives because all the audio files were going to be bigger. And this meant something to us. We cared about it,
Right.
and we could hear the difference. My thing is, that those sorts of things will matter less to, they already do, to the music creators of today,
Hmm.
because it just wasn't those different sample rates or different technologies weren't, they didn't grow up on them or listening to, making music on tape or these things. So it would just change. Yeah, it would change obviously, like, it would change, yeah, the process. So it won't matter, like, for, some guy to master with AI or have a human do it, because it's just what they know.
Okay,
So
so if your creative juices are flowing again, are you pushing them towards you coming out with another Gary Go record and just getting after it, not being too much of a perfectionist, getting it done, getting it like, maybe setting a deadline and just like putting it out there?
yes, more and more. Like, still, I love getting lost in the creativity without the deadline. I love, like you were talking about, working with Lance and being in the studio. it's still what I love. Like I said, I looked up to this people. I do love the craft and doing it. But yes, I'm trying to get more propelled into the yeah
The
the
follow through.
yeah, the follow through and moving faster and letting go. Yeah, yeah, and
Hmm.
abandoning and just go, okay, this is definitely done. Like just go. Yeah. But I'm also a body I like a body of work too, you know. I do love like the album, you know, or the thing. I love that too. So the idea of like just doing I'm more I've always been like, I want to make the whole thing first. But as well, that doesn't go hand in hand with speed. You know,
Well,
sometimes
it
it's like
can. I mean,
it
people
can.
make records inside of a couple weeks, but
And
like, do you
we've
have,
done that. We have
yeah,
done that.
yeah, we did with the actor. We made a record in 3 days or
And
something like that.
it's incredible, and it can be months or years after doing something like that, where you that's the brilliance of this stuff and all those records, those legendary records that were made like that. It's sometimes
Lots of them.
so many, and it's sometimes only after many years or distance from it you look back and you're like, that's incredible. Like, how did we even do that?
Hmm.
And it has that life force.
So where are you in the process then? How many songs do you have written? Let's set a deadline for you right now.
Right, on your show, like on
Right.
record, like to be
Exactly. That part of what
accountable
I
to
want this
your
show to
whole
be is
audience.
like almost a therapy session for like, helping each other, overcome creative blocks and creative struggles, and then thereby helping people tuning in to overcome theirs.
I love that. Well,
Yeah.
I will pledge to have my new work out next year on your show.
Okay. What
And
month?
it, um that might be too big of a promise.
Set it later in the year then. Just like set a deadline for later in the year then. Just like
So this time
2026.
by this time next year,
Okay.
this
It'll
what
be
I'm working
out.
on now will be yeah, will be
Okay.
in the world in some form.
Okay.
I can't believe you made me do that.
Yeah, we have to do that. We have to do it. And definitely, it'll be great. Everything you said, I agree with. Like, you know, still let's hone in, still let's work hard on stuff, but maybe that kind of like overthinking type of perfectionism is a thing of the past. It's just great to like let go of perfectionism. And I've had a lot of experience doing it lately because like I just said, like I had to finally put this record to bed. I finished the script for The Ballad of Boogie Christ, the musical, and I have a Zoom meeting with the director later tonight and a guy who's
Amazing.
going to help produce it because I finished it, a 3 act play, a 3 act structure, and I sent it out. I just got it out there. Was it perfect? No. Is it perfect? No. Is some of it too long? Yes. Is there things that are going to need to change? Yes, but it doesn't matter because it's like the process of honing things in happens in the sort of
Of doing it.
action of it too, not up here. It happens when you throw it out into the world. And like, okay, we put the 24 track running order together, but it's still going to go to the sort of the head of the label. Fred's getting it to us tonight. It'll go to her next. If she goes, this is freaking amazing. I love it. Let's go. It'll probably come out like that. But there still could be like a thing where somebody goes, hey, what about this? And then makes us rethink it. But that's okay. That's just part of the process. And that's not like, like you sort of maybe amend things as you go, or maybe they just land. You'll know as you're moving, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. You have to find out as you're moving. And really like I love that you shared that about T-Bone Burnett and the most incredible producer who's clearly does such authentic work. When you talked about those different versions of your song in the sun, which is, you know, it's such a great towering song that I could imagine wanting to explore every corner of this song and connotation, but that he just knew. No, it's the first thing that you did has that life force, has that magic. That's the one. Like, you know, who whoever you have playing on this, you know, it's the one is just the first one. So I think sometimes we might not. it's trusting just that as a truism and as a fact that because at the time you're going to think it's shit and rough around the edges and you're not going to want to share it, but then you have to remember like the prayer, like that. No, this was direct. This was the one. This
Hmm.
this needs to be shared.
It's not always the case, though, too. There is no, I mean, it's often the case what you say, but it's not always the case. Sometimes when you do rework something, sometimes it can get stronger. So art is complicated that way, but your point is true. Oftentimes that is the case.
But you can rework it after it's out and in
That's true
public.
too.
Like I went to a coffee shop this morning. They had just um, renovated and they were open. They were really busy in there. And I noticed they weren't finished with the renovation. Like
Right,
they didn't have chairs for everyone was standing up. It's very odd because they didn't have all the furniture in there. But I'd noticed, oh, but they've opened. And
right.
it's
Yep,
like, yeah, they just opened and
that's a great analogy.
they're gonna get the chairs and they're gonna get, but they got to open. They got to sell coffee because he's
Yeah,
got to keep the shop open and let people know they're open. So it's like, yeah, I remember when Kanye put a record out and he was like, it's not finished yet, but I'm gonna update it, and you can do that now with the technology. You can
hmm,
replace the master that people are streaming,
that's
replace the
interesting.
artwork, so you kind
Yeah.
of can keep perfecting in front of the audience. Now maybe that's the
That's
new.
amazing. I love that. There's something called Kit Better actually, which is like this new device. We're going to put the record out on Kit Better as well. And it's like this little box device. You tap your phone and it puts the whole record on, and it's like a digital device that comes with like bonus material. And the thing is, people can buy the Kit Better of the album, and then we have a bonus album from that is part of like that would be have been the triple record or whatever. We have the bonus record that we're going to update the Kit Better with like a few months later. And so the people that have the Kit Better will get a bonus album like months later. It'll update automatically to all their devices.
That sounds so cool. I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, you
Love
check out
that.
Kit Better. This isn't an ad for Kit Better, by the way. It should be
Love
though.
that.
But
I love it.
all right, dude. Well, this has been an amazing podcast. And so you have how many songs do you have written already for your new record? I'm
I have a,
excited.
I have a record's worth of material.
Okay, so this is definitely coming out. Do you have a title for it yet? Working title?
Work time, but that'll be the surprise element.
All right. Is it called I Love Joe or?
Well, you've ruined it now. It's not going to be a surprise. Joe's got the bigger keyboard was the working title, but I'm
Dude, what a callback right there at the end of the podcast. You did a
right back to the beginning.
comedic genius. Gary Go,
Man, thanks so
musician.
much for inviting me onto your show. And can I say I'm very grateful. Had the privilege of having a sneak peek at the book that you're working on,
Hmm.
and I think it's going to be very exciting for a lot of people. Need to read that and get those messages in the way that you are working on delivering them. So I'm
Thank you,
excited.
man. I'm excited about it too. I really appreciate that. I'm very excited about it, and it's coming. And in the exact same way we've been talking about, I think I'm gonna have it up for pre-order really, really soon. And I've decided to go independent with it too. I was like thinking, oh, should I try to get a literary agent? Should I try to get a publisher or something? And it's like, no, I'm just gonna do it myself. Like,
It will peak.
speed and just like let's just get it out. Like, forget
And
it.
you can get a publisher even after you do that. Like
Yeah,
that's the
yeah,
thing. Like you
maybe, but
can,
I'm not worried about that.
but if
Like,
you wanted to, you could re-edit it after you put it out. You could
y-
keep working on it
yeah,
if you want. That's kind of going back to what we were saying.
right. Get
I'll
going
finish
and
off.
then get good. That's one of the subjects. But we'll go
I'll
ahead.
sh- I'll share before we totally sign out that I we spoke a few weeks ago, and I was talking about creative challenges and some stumbling blocks, and it was just brilliant. You were like, "Well, I've written a book for that." Which is great. Or I'm writing a book for that. I was like, what? Like exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, I'm writing a book. And so it was very exciting. Like, really? What was it? Yeah, everything we just spoken about. I got a book. And so I
Yeah.
think I'm excited. I'm excited to read the whole thing, and I'm excited for everyone else to.
Thanks, Gary. I really appreciate you. Love you, brother. Seriously, that's not just empty words. We've been friends for a long time.
Love you.
You know it. You know I
Love you
do.
too.
I always enjoy all of our exchanges. All right, so Gary Go, you want to tell people like where to find you on socials or anything like that?
Gary Go, just at GaryGo on X, on Instagram, Gary Go Music on Facebook. I haven't checked in there for a while. I will say hello. And Gary Go, I think on YouTube. I'm
Nice.
out there. And new work next year. I said it
Yeah.
here. Got to do
And
something
check
about
out
it
Gary
now.
Go's songs that are already out there. They're
Gary Go on Spotify. There
freaking
we go.
awesome. So yeah, Gary Go on Spotify. All right, Gary, talk to you soon, my brother. Everybody stay creative. Don't be a perfectionist. Get your work done. Go do it. The world needs you. We love
Do it.
you.
Love you.
Do it. Love you, bro. Let me see. Bye, 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 bye.